Prime Minister Andrew Holness has been having recent discussions with regards to the nomination of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith. It's been a discussion at the Commonwealth level because she is vying for the post of Commonwealth Secretary General. It sparked a debate across the Caribbean for sure. And here to shed some light on this issue is political scientist Professor Trevor Monroe. Morning, Prof. Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Good morning, Daily. Good morning, Neville. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Give thanks.
Not distracted.
I think it's the first time I'm interviewing you with that hat, political scientist. Usually it's NIA. Great to have you with us, sir. What's the role first of the Commonwealth Secretary General? What's the role? Let's start there.
Literally the head of the Commonwealth, which is a huge conglomeration of nations, 54 countries, most of which were previously members of the British Empire, but not all. And the Secretary General literally is the administrative head, looks after affairs between meetings and during meetings, and has the status of a minister, really, in attending the Commonwealth conferences and in managing the affairs in between. So it's an important position. The Commonwealth perhaps could be more influential than it is, but it's regarded as one of the more important international organizations.
Okay.
Yeah. Part of the challenge right now is, as articulated by Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, is the existing Commonwealth Secretary, Baroness Scotland. He says she's a Caribbeaner. That's how he describes her. And he thinks that for Kamina to enter the race, it's almost as if the Caribbean is going against itself. What are your thoughts on that?
I recall listening to you guys a moment ago and hearing Neville say what the most important healthy tip is, and it's support each other. And in that regard, a regional organization such as CARICOM has that as an important coordinating issue, especially when dealing with international or hemispheric or organizational matters like the Commonwealth Secretary General. And so the meeting of the heads of government on March the 3rd, which Jamaica attended, some were virtual, Jamaica, I believe, was present physically, they came to what they described as not a unanimous, but a very substantial, very impressive consensus. Not exactly, but so strong that they were going to support the existing Secretary General, Baroness Scotland. And therefore, it would have come as some surprise, not only to the heads themselves, but to anyone who looked at the communique, which was published right after, that Jamaica had actually nominated a very, very worthy candidate, of course. Kamina is very suitable, no issue there. The question is, how would you appear to be supportive of another candidate on March the 3rd, and then on March 29th or 30th, you announce without any apparent public prior warning that you're going to be putting up your own candidate. I think that's a concern, that the coordination, the sharing, the aim for unanimity did not seem to have occurred here. And that really has stirred quite a bit of controversy. As you know, two prime ministers came out in opposition to it. Yeah. And I believe they're now meeting to discuss how to resolve this particular matter.
In preparing for this, sir, and I'm reading here, sitting Secretary General Baroness Patricia Scotland's tenure has been fraught with allegations, which she has denied, of corruption and cronyism at the London headquarters of the organization. I'm not asking you to comment on that specifically, but have you heard anything that would suggest that this is the reason why people might not want the Baroness to continue here?
I've heard a number of things. Certainly that is one. Accusations of cronyism, not following procurement rules and so on. And that, of course, is quite serious. However, it's a bit concerning that as soon as the new British government came into office, of Boris Johnson, who belongs to the other party, the Conservative Party, Baroness Scotland, of course, was a minister, in fact, the Attorney General under the previous Labour administration. Within a short period of time, in fact, within the first year of her tenure, she went in 2016. By 2017, statements in the media, concerns being expressed by the British government. So there is that issue. The other issue, of course, it's the first woman to head the Commonwealth in that position. And that also arose, the first woman of color, as they say in the United Kingdom. Then you say, well, how come all of this is coming up now? It was a contested election when she won, but nevertheless, she did win and didn't seem to have much of a chance to settle down before these accusations began to circulate.
You know, Professor, you've been a political scientist for years, and politics is politics. One of the things Prime Minister Holness is suggesting is, yes, there was a meeting, and there seemed to have been an agreement, but post-meeting, countries were now being approached by other regional heads to say, can you provide a nominee? Can you provide a nominee? And so it was felt that, okay, because people are asking, and we have someone who's competent, that we should. That's okay.
Well, I suppose, but remember your mantra, support each other.
Right.
If you have a most impressive support, the words of the communique behind a particular candidate, not, I think, appropriate to describe as Dominican. Baroness Scotland left Dominica at age 2 years old, so she has dual citizenship between UK and Dominica. But that does happen. The question is whether it's good practice, whether it's something that we should guard against, where we break ranks, quote unquote, because as I said before, there was no public indication before the actual announcement. Maybe there were consultations privately, you and I don't know, but us, the public, certainly have a need to wish that our regional body acts unanimously on critical issues. Venezuela was one where we didn't act unanimously, and we hope that in future, to strengthen the voice of CARICOM and to ensure that the concerns and the interests of our region are met, we should try at all times to develop a unanimous position. And in this particular case, the way in which unanimity was not achieved is left much to be desired. Really should have been handled better.
As you suggested earlier, sir, I'm going to read here again. While no questions of Johnson Smith's experience and competency for the position have arisen, as you suggested, Opposition Leader Mark Golding told Parliament on Tuesday that the manner and context of the decision to nominate Jamaica's foreign minister had created a messy and undesirable situation. You agree with that?
Well, certainly to have two prime ministers within weeks of a conference where we were all in attendance, not necessarily physically, come out and describe a decision as impossible or undesirable in the way that they did, certainly it could have been handled better. Messy is an appropriate term in the circumstances. And I hope, as I said, that we learn from this situation and ensure that critical decisions, not necessarily this one, which is important, but not critical, that Jamaica and the rest of the region achieve the kind of unanimity which would allow our voice to be strongly heard and our position appropriately felt, especially because we are all small island developing states, of course, with the exception of Guyana. So it's a desirable goal. It wasn't achieved this time. Let us learn what went wrong and ensure that it doesn't recur, particularly on these difficult decisions that are coming up just now.
Yeah, I read this one in the Gleaner that I think India has thrown their support behind Kamina Johnson-Smith. So it appears as if there's no turning back, sir. It moves ahead full speed.
Well,
yes.
Sorry, go ahead, Dana.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that from early on, as I implied earlier, when Baroness Scotland assumed office, it became clear that initially Britain fractured whatever majority agreement, even a consensus that would have developed around her candidature. Obviously, she is not perfect, given the where there's smoke, there's very often fire.
Yes.
And to that extent, the consensus would have been ruptured early. But let us be clear, of the 5 previous Secretaries General, not many achieved and sustained a significant consensus. So that's not going to be something new, though it is desirable that everybody agree. Very unusual for all 54 to coalesce around a single officer, single candidate as Secretary General.
Yeah, we're out of time, sir, but I do have one quick question. What needs to happen to decide whether she stays or she goes? It's just a straight vote?
I think what's happening now is what would be desirable. It appears that the emergency meeting of the heads of government have put together a group to have a word with Baroness Scotland to find out how far she is fixed on running for office. She has support in many African states, as you probably know.
Yes.
And if she does not have the kind of large support, or it has diminished, India being the largest population country in the Commonwealth, it may well be that she may wish to reconsider, and to that extent, a very worthy candidate in every other circumstance, and even in this one, our foreign minister would likely attract the majority.
Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you, Reverend. Good to see you too, and good to see you, Delio.
Blessings.
Great to see you.
All the best.
Political scientist, Professor Trevor Monroe. Stick around. We got more in Smile after this.
If you wanted to know what I just said, by the way, it is the motto of St. George's College, Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam, which means the greater glory of God. He went to St. George's College, which is why I did it. No big thing. Soon come.